Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. Adam Steele from Hot Pole Studios here, and this is your weekly guitar and tech news podcast. Joining me is Mr. Liam Wright, as usual. Hello.
Hello. Just guitar and tech news now, is it?
And other stuff. What else do we do? Music,
music, audio, technology, and computing, apparently.
Ah, that stuff. That actually is pretty accurate. It's just quite a mouthful.
So we're not talking about like basses anymore, or drums, or synths, or...
Well, synths count as tech and bass counts as guitars. We can lump it all in. Okay, right. Starting next week, just bass news. That's the whole podcast. Bass news. Yes.
But like different types of bass. So we'll have like bass guitars, drum and bass, like bass EQ, just different parts of it.
Lots of bass. Yes, indeed. Also, something that's a little bit weird this week is that I usually come to you live through my GH5 camera, but that's in my hand. What is this? Okay. Yes, I kind of did a side grade for the camera. That's now a Lumix GX80, which is considerably cheaper, and there's a lot of things it doesn't do, but what it does do is this really well. And it means I can actually have my GH5 out for doing more things without having to take the whole damn thing down every time. If you look on eBay long enough, you sometimes get some real bargains. As my regular viewers will know, I'm a proper eBay fiend. So, yes, eBay is good.
So what, the G80?
GX80. Yeah, got it for less than 200 quid. And then I've put the lens on that I regularly use, which I got for less than 100 quid.
Cool.
And it looks like this. Looks great. So there you go. It actually does full 4K recording as well. So when I'm deciding to do big production stuff at the studio, I've got a camera B that will look great. But it has its limitations. Like, it doesn't do more than 30 minutes of filming in one go because it's one of those, cheaper cameras with that limit. And it's not amazing in low light, which again, if we're in the studio filling things full of light, that'll be a perfectly fine camera B. But yeah, it's a little compact thing, but it has a Micro Four Third mount. So yeah, he's really good.
Very cool.
Yes. So yeah, I got on that tip from my friend John Brown, who has a couple of these, and I saw them because he's got a GH4 and other stuff, and they were in his multi-camera live rig, and it looked just as good as the others as long as there was enough light. So I just went, okay. Click, 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 click.
Fair enough.
Yes. And yeah, it's been quite the week. It's been well, what was that?
That was you.
Oh, okay.
Pulling up the chat. That's what you said about 10 seconds ago.
Were you sampling it?
No. It just strangely that came through.
That was weird.
Volume as everything else through the speakers, but
is your computer just calling me out and going, "Here's what you sound like"?
Pretty much.
Wow. Yeah, it's been
ignoring you like now.
It's been a busy week. I got a box that holds a secret that I can now show you. But yeah, this came in today from Sennheiser. New microphone, everybody. New gear day. Ooh. This is the new, and I don't want to destroy the box yet, MD435, which if I hold to the camera won't focus, but nice, shiny, really nice mic from Sennheiser. The MD range is back, everybody. Everybody knows the MD range from the 421 and the 441. Now this is the 435. Nice cardioid, real heavy microphone. So, yes.
No, Marty, I haven't done it in my hair. It's still here. I've just shaved the side.
I think he's training to become a professional footballer.
Yeah, going full hipster. After 10 years of mocking hipsters and man buns, I decided, you know what, I need to become the thing that I hate. So,
well, it looks like you've had the sides cut, so you are committing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. Like,
It sticks perfectly to one side.
Mhm.
Oh, full emo streamer.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Which means that 1 week I'm gonna come in with like proper mohawk because I realized I can do a mohawk.
Yeah.
So I have to do that at some point.
Long hair is
But,
fun.
Yeah.
So it gets in your eyes and then it's all over the show. But yeah,
Indeed.
it's been an exciting week. I had a very interesting call today. It was something that I one of those things I can't tell you about. Those things seem to happen far too often, but as is often the case, the details will come out very soon because time flies. But yeah, things move. It's fascinating the way that I'll get through a big project, finish it, and go, "Yay, it's done!" and then go, "Oh, what next?" And then the phone rings.
You're recording the new Beyonce album.
Yes.
Oh, was I not meant to say? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, the metal album that Beyonce wants to do. It's called Bum Chicka Chug Chug. No, it's really not. But yeah, there's always something interesting going on in our world. But considering I've had a week off, I've probably done more work this week than I normally do.
Oh dear.
But in a good way. I've been pacing myself. I've been procrastinating properly, and self care. Self care is good. Spent some time.
It is
cleaning the house. Found that there was some black mold in the bedroom, so that's now gone. So my personal health has now improved somewhat. Learning to juggle. I can't juggle with physical things, but I can certainly juggle with work. That's yeah. But yeah, hello everybody in chat. Hope you're all doing well. I've been streaming a lot this week, so I've actually been seeing a lot of my regular viewers. We did a recording stream last night with some epic bass tones, which actually has 3 outputs, which is why I'm really glad I've got the Audion Evo 8 now, because I was using a clean DI, kind of a gritty track, and then a real gain track as well. Yes, so they were good.
You can have that now as well.
Oh yeah. So I'll have to try and get some glue and stick the Evo 4 back together with it. Yeah. Maybe make an Evo 12. Yeah.
Evo 12. Because I have now moved on to... Where is it?
Oh yeah, you're on a Goxeler.
Yeah. Well, Goxeler, after last week saying maybe I should get one, and the Toman thing, I did it.
Ah.
And yeah, it's been...
Yes, it's got an auto mute. And also,
did that not come?
No, I heard tiny little bits of it, but I wonder, are you running through RX noise? Is that
RX? No.
RTX noise. I was wondering if that would filter it out, but no, the tone's not coming through.
That's weird. Can't be asked for figuring out why. It's Discord, most likely.
Yeah, but
Discord.
there's a swear button.
Yeah. Oh, it might be Discord's noise filtering stuff.
Maybe.
Yeah, the swear button is fun. I've been using it to swear at co-workers, not at other ones.
Yes. How's lockdown treating you? Well, it is what it is. We are locked down, so we do stuff and things. I've been doing a lot of not editing and doing everything else around it. So yeah, I need to get back onto editing starting tomorrow, so we've got videos to go on the channel. I think we've had a video on the channel every day since Sunday, every day since Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's been a busy old week. Yeah.
The one interesting thing, given that these are actually, I mean, the Evo is like 99 quid, and I think this is 145 quid.
Yeah.
So similar sort of for like podcasting.
Yeah.
Similar sort of area. I do think that the preamp on the Go XLR is a little bit better than the Evo one.
Interesting.
But I'm not sure about. I mean, I haven't tested in terms of recording environment or anything like that. But just from there's more gain there. Not necessarily going to be better at optimum levels. I don't know. But in terms of gain, I've still got room in the software to push the gain on the Go XLR. Whereas the Evo, I had it maxed out, and people were still saying I was quiet, and I was like, well, there's nothing I can do. Like with an SM7, like it's pushed to max now. The only thing to do is just push it in voice meter or something.
Speak up a bit. But yes.
Or shout loud.
Yeah. That is good to know. But of course, if I remember rightly, the Go XLR's only got one preamp. So they can kind of lend it more power, as it were. They've been USB,
Yeah, you can put a 3.5mm mic in, like if you got a headset.
All right.
But you still got to pick one of them. I don't think you can use more than one.
Yeah, that makes
there
sense.
There is a line in and a line out, which is nice as well. And you've got the headphone out.
So it does seem a little weird to buy something like that and then stick a headset in it, though. It's like, here's the thing where XLR is in the name, so you can plug a microphone in, but just don't use that. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the gamer side of it, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Even so, like, again, why would you not? Like, if you've got a certain headset, well, I mean, I just have buy a set of headphones. But yeah, for podcasting, would definitely recommend. One thing I really like on it is it's got all different nice lights. But I found in the settings, you can set the lights to be meters. So for my main sound and for my mic, the lights that come up on the fader itself are little meters, just like on the bottom of the screen.
Cool.
So you can actually tell it. Like, it's got like live metering. Cool. Anyway,
good
on to the news.
Yes, on to the news via the intro. Pro Tools goes dark. Boss have got new stuff. Gibson are going to remake missing guitars. And also Behringer are releasing another new synth. What a surprise. Let's roll the intro. Yeah, straight into the news today. I think 12 minutes might be 13 minutes might be a record for running the intro.
Nah,
I'm sure we've gone longer than that and forgotten.
I'm sure.
Yeah. But anywho, Pro Tools, there's now the dark mode in the new version, audio to MIDI, and they can actually export and import from real, actual usable files now. Yay. So, yes, there's a dark mode in Pro Tools, so you don't have to burn your eyes anymore. It can look a lot more like Reaper. How about that? Yeah, you can have colors that are much more easy on the eye. Had someone really complaining on one of my Reaper videos this week about, oh, well, as soon as they fix the Reaper, I don't like the look of it, then I'll start using it. I'm like, yeah, change the color scheme. It's the same as everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took them 2 decades, and now there's a dark mode. There's a thing called convert audio to MIDI, so you can record a guitar part or a vocal part or something, and it will turn it into a MIDI line for you, which is nice and cool. And it's exactly the same functionality that you can do in Melodyne. I've been doing that in Melodyne for a long time, because Solemnity, who make Melodyne, were the development partner on that with Avid.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, cool. And there's things like you can now import and export QuickTime files and M4A files and other slightly weird and wonderful stuff like MXF video. You can actually bounce to a video file, which I was doing in Cubase in 2005, but you can now do that. Well, hey. Pro Tools Ultimate now supports 512 master faders, which is still less than Reaper. Yay! But, it's all in there. Pro Tools Ultimate is $80 per month.
Gee.
Yep. And that's the Ultimate version, which is like, Pro Tools HD, which used to cost many lots. But yeah, it's got things like Dolby Atmos support. I'll give them that. That's about it. There's a few things like the AAF files, which video guys will use for editing. They can now import and export those with mute functions on the audio. Finally. Yes.
None of this sounds groundbreaking.
No, I mean that's Avid for you. But yeah, it's something that is a little bit groundbreaking is their new carbon interface, which is to ship this month. I say groundbreaking. It's basically a really nice interface that other companies already make, essentially, but an Avid version. But they're kind of copying UAD with their onboard processing. So yeah, this interface is not cheap, but it's got 8 microphone preamp inputs with DI and all the rest. 8 line input and outputs on DB25 connectors, the little chunky connectors. 16 ADAT input and out. That's nice. 4 headphone outs, so you don't need separate headphone amps. Stereo monitor outs, word clock, dual Ethernet, because the audio runs over Ethernet on these using AVB, like we were talking about, not Dante. So it uses the wrong one. And yeah, it's got an integrated talkback microphone as well, which is nice and handy, so you don't actually need a talkback mic. Although if this rack is nowhere near where you are, you're either going to have to really shout at it or just actually plug a microphone in for talkback anyway. Thing that strikes me as interesting with this, yeah, look at the back. That's got a lot of features going on. That's pretty cool. But it's got onboard processing like the Pro Tools HD cards. So yeah, the AAX DSP it's called. So it's 8 onboard HDX DSP units. I don't know how many are actually on an HDX card these days, but 8 onboard DSPs, that's like an octo from Universal Audio. That sounds awfully like they've exactly tried to match something like the Universal Apollo interfaces. And they've done it at the low price of €4,099. And you don't even get Pro Tools Ultimate in there. You get Pro Tools Standard. You get a 1-year license, which after that 1 year becomes a permanent license, but without the update plan.
You know what we need to do? We need to do a video. We need to get a nice sponsor for this video. And you need to get one of these and a new MacBook Pro and with that money, you then need to buy and build a laptop and use Reaper and compare it.
A fifth of the price.
No, for the same price.
Oh Jesus! I don't know if I could build a computer for the same price.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
I'd have to by the time I've got a nice interface and a really high spec laptop, I'd probably have to be going silly and put like a Quadro graphics card in there to match the same price.
That's part of the argument. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then test the performance. Like, obviously, only put things in it that are going to improve the audio quality. And if you literally run out of things to buy, fair enough.
Yeah.
At that point, it's then, okay, so this is what you're paying for.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because that's what I'm thinking, like, for $4,000, surely, like, and especially that's hardware, so it's not a laptop. So, like,
nope.
If you wanted to go like full Xeon processors and stuff, like on a desktop, you could, for $4,000, you could easily build something that would outperform that, couldn't you?
Yeah.
And just a computer on board without source it.
Although having said that, the actual ins and outs, I don't know how many of these line in and outs run concurrently. I would have to look at that. But depending on the number of channels this can run at one time, I could probably get I've got an Arturia Audio Fuse 8 Pre that will do most of this audio wise without the processing that was under 1,000. And okay, so it didn't have 4 headphone outputs, but then you can get a 4-channel, 4 input, 4 output headphone amp, a good one for £200.
Yeah.
And that's if you need it. Because in a lot of circumstances, you probably wouldn't need 4 headphone outputs right off the interface.
Buy 2 PCs and use one as a DSP.
Hell, if I got one of these and the latest Intel Mac Pro fully spec'd out, that's $20,000. I could go and buy a very high quality PC, really nice interface, and a Bitcoin for that.
You said Intel Mac Pro.
Yeah.
No.
What?
You're not allowed to use Intel.
Oh, so you mean literally do it with the M1?
Yeah.
Ah. Well, that's one of our. I'll move that up actually. So that was on one of our later news articles. But yeah, Apple has released Logic Pro X 10.6, which works with the M1, and also they're still compiling it for Intel Macs.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I have heard through the grapevine, people have been testing it by doing like stress tests on it, by putting some of the most difficult inbuilt plugins on the what's called Space Designer, which is like their impulse response loader. They got thousands of them on there before it even thought about stuttering. And I mean, actually thousands. It was terrifying. The single core performance on these, by all counts, is faster than the fastest Intel and AMD chips right now.
Yeah, that's what people are saying, yeah.
Well, this is what we were talking about last week with the difference between ARM and x86 and stripping out all the stuff that's irrelevant these days.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not waiting on old hardware or trying to support out-of-date technology. These things are ripping fast, which is really impressive. Really impressive. Apparently the multi-core performance isn't like top of the tree, but for what they are, these things are really impressive. And the thing to keep in mind is that the M1 is literally the one. It's the first version. If you remember what happened with the first iPad, they were like, for the first couple of years, hey, iPad. And then the iPad 1 went the way of the dinosaur very quickly. But then when they improved and iterated, was it the iPad 2 was supported for like the best part of a decade because it was running rings around everything. So yeah, wait for the M2 to come out and watch them just blow everybody away. It'll be an interesting thing to watch.
Maybe moving to Mac one day.
Maybe. I've never been anti-Apple on principle. I've always been anti-Apple based on price and performance not matching up. If they change that game, it's open for discussion again.
I think both of us have gone through pretty much the same view, which is I was an advocate of Apple around the PowerPC days, like up to about 2004. Then I think AMD took over, then Intel took over. But then throughout that whole period, laptops, Macs still, the Intel Mac laptops were just untouchable until about 8 years ago when they just got stupidly priced for what they were. And then for me, they've just been useless. Like, I just wouldn't, it's style of a substance, probably the last 8 to 10 years. But yeah, this changed. Like, I still feel like at the moment it's just an iPad without the touchscreen, which to say that's a bad thing, because iPad Pros, that is, because iPad Pros are amazing.
Yeah.
But I do think the touchscreen is really important. But if the single core performance is this good, that they're able to like smash out with it, then I'm actually more excited about the new iPad Pros than I am about the new MacBooks. Of where they're gonna go.
Yeah.
I mean, the iMac could be super amazing, but who knows? They may just, and well, the Mac Pros, like, when have they announced that yet?
No, as of yet, this is what we've got, is just the M1 chip, and for now that's a lot.
Like 20 M1 chips in some sort of weird dustbin, like, which I'm expecting to see anyway.
Yeah.
That could be incredible. Like,
well, yeah, it's going to be very interesting, because the way they've designed the M1 chips is with the power efficiency in mind, because that's what you do for mobile stuff. When it comes to desktop, oh, hello,
isn't it like 20 watts or something?
15, I think.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and it's outperforming like things that take like 300.
Exactly.
That is insane.
That's very much the point of why my eyebrows have gone, oh, okay, because all they have to do now with, like, let's say they call it the M2, although they'll probably call it the M1X, knowing Apple, for the desktop variant, they can double or triple the power usage, and it's still not an insane amount It's like 60 watts is less than most middle of the road AMD and Intel chips right now.
My laptop is a 30-watt laptop. I mean,
yeah, mine's about that, maybe 35, 40. And yeah, it would absolutely blow the doors off most things. Someone, Ace Man, was saying in chat, worrying about editing 4K video using After Effects or Fusion, but with 16 gig of RAM. But here's the thing that I was reading today is that these new Macs don't necessarily need as much memory as you think, because they work completely differently to how a PC works right now. Because if you look at the specs of a PC right now, you've got your system RAM, you've got your video RAM separately, and the system takes information and passes it from one to the other. That's not how these work. There is no separate RAM chip. It is literally on the processor. It's on the die.
And it's kind of going back to like the PowerPC days in terms of the way that it is difficult to compare, isn't it? Like,
very much so.
In the PowerPC, you couldn't compare that to a Intel computer because you're like, what parts am I comparing? Well, we couldn't just compare the performance, and it outperformed it on things that were design, audio, and video.
Yeah, companies that traditionally did specifically write their software for that platform. Yeah, which meant
go back. But I mean, maybe I'll be wrong. Let's see.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, you think you need loads and loads of video, you need loads and loads of memory for 4K video editing, but you don't if the software is written with the integrated system in mind. Like, maybe heavy workloads like something like heavy work in After Effects or Fusion, sure. But if you do that for a living, you're probably going to have a dedicated high-end system anyway, which means you're the niche case. So you're...
Yeah, I can't... I get the feeling that given what we've seen, I mean, probably going to just go for the video and the design market.
Yeah.
And, sorry, the audio and the design market. Because, like, Logic, Max, being able to throw a MacBook Pro in your bag and go and create music anywhere, it's very cool. It's very Apple.
Yeah.
Doing podcasts, doing vlogs, doing YouTube videos, all that sort of stuff, like, which is it's not multi-core processing with lots of like rendering and stuff. Again, very cool for the Apple. Whereas doing proper video production with, and by proper, I mean the sort of stuff we used to do, where you got big shoots, you're doing lots of After Effects and graphics and stuff that requires multi-threading or animation and stuff. Maybe they've decided just to go, we'll let Intel have that part of the market.
Yeah,
it doesn't fit with it anyway.
Well, for now, we've still got the like £10,000-20,000 Mac Pros that are designed to do that. So it's not as if they've cut that segment out yet. I mean,
but I mean, that's the overpriced. We went through that when they released them. Like,
they are very much so.
If you want to be cool, as someone in chat said, that you build your own PC, you're building one of those for a fraction of the price.
Yeah. But then just to argue the opposite point of what I usually argue, if you are that niche case where you earn a lot of money and charge a lot of money to do a thing and you need 100% uptime, and if it breaks, you need to send it back and get it fixed now.
Don't buy Apple, then let's get fixed.
Well, yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. But yeah, I mean... It's just interesting looking at both sides. I mean, 90% of the time or more, I'm absolutely in the PC camp.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I think that's what people think, and they get Apple Care, and I can see people buying that on that principle. But I'd much rather go to. I mean, like now, my laptop was playing up. Sent it to scan. It's been 2.5 weeks, which is a pain in the backside. But there is a national lockdown. PlayStation 5, 3080s, the AMDs have all come out during the time, so. Yeah, it is what it is. I get why it's taken so long to come back. But they've stress tested it. They've done proper quality. They've done burn-in tests again. They've done like amazing amount of... They wouldn't even... I bought an extra power supply from them for the laptop. They wouldn't even use that, have the right serial number on it from what I was sold. So they're like, nope, we don't know that's exactly the right power supply, so we're not using it. Like, it's really good quality control the whole way through. They've tested it, figured out was really no problem in sending it back. So it's from my end, fair enough. Like, you can get that level of service well from smaller companies. I don't tend to find to get it. You get it with Apple. I've had a lot of horror stories from them. So I would definitely, if I was building a big end system and I was spending 20 grand, I would find a consultant to build it for me.
Yeah.
Maybe someone like Scan, or maybe just an IT company that can build it. And the grand you could spend on that and the support will definitely be better than something from Apple. But I think the M1 stuff's really interesting. Like, I get it now. The single core, making it cool, doing one thing well. It's very Apple.
Well, the multi-core results weren't shameful.
No,
it's just that the single core was the headline because it was leaps and bounds above everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was really interesting how that went. But yeah, let's move on. So here's something. I think I might get one of these. Harley Benton have just released the MB4 and MB5 SBK bases. And isn't that pretty? It's kind of a Music Man bass. I've been thinking about getting a dedicated kind of metal bass and making a video about it. These are, I mean, Music Man basses make brutal bass sounds. It's got a nice solid tail here. The 4 strings, €129. The 5 strings, €139.
Oh, wow.
That is ridiculously cheap for what that is. And they're black and satin finish. They're going to fly out the door. Yeah, I mean, they do have like a sunburst one that's even cheaper by £5 or £10, but it doesn't look, metal. And
so why is that so cheap? Made of like cardboard or something? Because
probably. I mean, I've no idea how Toman do stuff that cheap, but they put a call into wherever they're made, which is probably China, might be Indonesia, I don't know. But they put a call in and they say, yes, okay, what deal can you do me? I want 30 or 40,000 of them, please. That's how Harley Benton, because Harley Benton is Toman's own brand. Toman, biggest retailer in Europe. And we know that you get bulk discount on everything. Because things like the tuners, they'll be stamped out in a factory. And of course, the tooling will cost a lot more than actually running the production run. So once the tooling's there, if it's like, well, if you want 10 of these, they're going to cost you £100 each. If you want 10,000 of these, they're going to cost you £50 each. If you want 100,000 of these, it keeps going like that. Yeah.
Indeed. For anyone's interested in buying something from Toman, there is a link in the description below. It is an affiliate link. It helps out the channel. So if you're not able to help out the channel, but you'd really like to, you can't afford to join the Patreon or hire Adam to do anything, you can just click that little Toman link. Just click it. And then next time you get on Toman, like maybe we might get something for it. So just click the link, just do it anyway, just in case. You never know. You might buy something later.
Yes, we have many, many affiliate links with Toman who, I mean, this is keeping somebody in a job. That's the other thing. I mean, I would imagine, a lot of this is done on CNCs. A lot of it's entirely automated. That's also where they're keeping things very, very, very cheap. Let's see if I can find, okay, so here's a link in chat for somebody asking. I've
already done it.
Oh, okay, cool. I was going to just paste a link. That's a link to the ID4, which actually I think goes to the Evo 4 now, but still.
Oh, did I post the right one though, right?
Yeah, no, you posted the one that goes to the Toman homepage. I just pasted a link that is an affiliate. Yeah, just Marty didn't order from Toman. Oh, Marty.
Here's a tip. What you should do is you should bookmark that link and put it in your little favorites bar. And every time you want to go to buy something from Toman, just click that link and use it as your Toman. That is how you should use that link.
Absolutely. It wouldn't cost you any more and it would help us out.
Yep.
So you may as well. But yeah, I wonder if a lot of this is just done entirely just on like an automated factory line. Because I know for a fact these bodies and these necks, they just put a piece of wood on a line and it comes out of a machine perfectly in shape. So why not go one further and have the machine like blow the dust off it, spray it, screw the pickup in, all that kind of stuff. I can't imagine there being very much work that an actual human has to do on this line.
They are definitely cool. I think get try it out against because when it comes to guitars, like I mean, I've obviously got one quite expensive guitar that I had custom made, but other than that, when you see some of these guitars that are like $4,000 compared to this, like I do find it really difficult to justify the cost, and that does look really cool.
Yeah,
and when it's like, oh, you're paying because it looks good as well as being made from good woods and made well. Well, like this looks really cool. I agree with that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could be made of absolute garbage wood and not play well. It could be a bit like we've said several times on the podcast before, like the old Chinese Squier Telecasters and Strats. You could get one, and 1 in 100 will be absolutely amazing, and the others will be. So buy 100 of them.
Yeah, buy 100 and send 99 back within the 28-day refund period.
Try them out, see if they sound any different. So we need to get enough support so we can do Mr. Beast style stuff, but with just guitars. Buy 100 of these, they all sound the same.
I'll buy 100 of them, pick my 2 favorites, and give the others away.
Exactly. That's the sort of stuff we want to be getting towards, because that'd be hilarious.
That would be really funny.
That's the chat. Be awesome.
Yeah. And then we start getting random deliveries of no such address. I'll just like return to sender.
It's fine. Just tell the delivery guy to keep it.
Yeah. No, there is an argument for incredibly expensive guitars and basses, but it's a different thing. It's for a different person. That's definitely for sure. I mean, if you just want to play and you want something that looks cool and you don't have huge amounts of money, something like this is going to be a killer. But if you do have lots and lots and lots of money and have been playing a while and can genuinely appreciate the subtleties, that's when you start looking at the expensive stuff. But yeah, if you get a guitar just because it's pretty, that doesn't work for me. But also being pretty can be a very nice bonus. Anyway, moving on to stuff that's kind of cheap. Go on.
I was going to say, Marty's mentioned about the element of manual labor that would be required. I mean, there is obviously the argument that as to whether you kind of get in cheap labor and people aren't being paid properly for them, so you won't want that to be the case. But part of it may things that Marty said about like fret checks and polish and stuff. Like as you sort of said, some of that can be done by a machine. I mean, checking the height of something can be done via lasers, or the other thing is it can just not be done.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's a bit more like a beginner player also isn't going to notice stuff like that. But yeah, it's a good point. The other thing is like there's a difference between something like slave labor, which is obviously bad, and just cheap labor. Because when you say cheap labor, that's just relative currency stuff. If it costs you a minimum of something like £10 an hour here to employ someone, or in somewhere like Indonesia, it might cost you, I'm ballparking, I don't know, but 50p an hour for a person who is just as happy and has a good lifestyle off that. Great.
Possibly, yeah. The politics of...
I'm massively oversimplifying, of course.
Boss Next Tone Special.
Yes, so Tube Sounds, 2 channels. So Boss Katana is kind of like the baby brother of this. This is the new kind of flagship from Boss. And the Boss Katana is arguably, not even arguably, I think it's a fact, it is the best-selling amp of the past several years. The Boss Katana just flies off the shelves. Because it's what the Line 6 Spider used to be. It's the everyman amp that sounds as good as it can at a reasonable price point and can sound like different things. Ahoy, everybody. And yes, the Next Tone Special has these very funky new Waza speakers with the big chunky blue thing on the back. And yeah, apparently it's based on the Celestia Alnico Blue, I'll say it. The 1960s Bluebell speakers, but with improved power handling, which is really nice. The real Celestia and Alnico Blues cost you about £250 each.
Okay.
Because they're made with Alnico. Alnico is aluminium, nickel, cobalt, and cobalt is expensive. Yes, which I was doing some digging on the history of Celestian speakers, and that's why they made ceramic speakers originally, because cobalt, even in the 50s, was expensive. And now it's just really expensive. But yeah, there's some new features. It's got different valves it can sound like. I don't know what the speaker is actually made of now, but apparently it sounds like an Alnico speaker. Boss has included something they call the Enhanced Reactive Drive Circuit. Whatever that does, it sounds to me like it makes it thump like a real speaker. And yeah, it's got 2 fully featured independent channels. All the controls are on the front, which makes it look a bit scary. But if you are experienced in dialing in a real amp, I actually find it's more useful doing this than it is with modeling amps where you've only got a few controls, but you've got to dive into menus. Menus can kill things very quickly, whereas if that looks like a lot of knobs. But if you actually look at it, you've got top row and a bottom row, and they're the same for different channels. So that makes it half as many already straight away. And then you've got, gain, bass, middle, treble, does exactly what it says. Then there's a boost, a delay, and a reverb, and something to do with custom tune, bottom and top, and presence, which kind of do what they say. And yeah, the only thing that makes my eyebrows go up with this, and there's the air feel switch. So if you're giving someone the XLR out for a front house for a show, remember shows, live shows, gigs, those were a thing once. Then yeah, it's a lot, but it's €900, 835 quid, almost $1,000 for one of these. I don't know. I might be looking for a second-hand valve amp and cab for that kind of money. Like, I was tempted. I nearly went out and bought myself a second-hand valve amp this week that was looking like a real deal for £450. And that's for the real deal 100-watt snarling valve amp. So, I don't know.
It's tough with all this kind of like the rebirth of digital, essentially, is the way I kind of see it with amps, where like the 90s, everything was digital and was emulating everything, and we all thought it sounded great until we all woke up and realized it sounded like a bee trapped in a box. And everything went back to Valve, and like Valve was clearly then kind of put back on top as, okay, we're not going to mess that up. We're not going to get away from that now.
Yeah.
But the emulation, the simulation, you're like the stuff that you do with the impulse responses, like it's really interesting how close you can get. And I think it's one of those things that you kind of need to hear them though each time now. Like you can't just look at it and go, oh, it's got this and this in it. It's digital. It's going to sound crap or it's going to sound good. I feel like we're in that really exciting stage where when new things come out, you really do have to listen to it to know whether it's any good or not.
Yeah.
You can't just know an amp's going to sound great anymore if it's a new one.
That's very true. Yeah.
So would you say that's?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's the modeling stuff is especially like the Boss Waza stuff is really getting there now. And like you say, the if you turn off the speakers in this and use the modeling output, you can get recording sounds that no one could tell you whether it was a real amp or not. It's so close now that, and people say, oh, but you can tell in the room. Yeah, but who listens to the CD, well, digital download, in the room you were in next to the amp you were next to? Nobody.
And the ability to say it to front of house and stuff, and like being able to like have a different sound on stage than you do on the recording version, like, or it comes out the speakers. I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
Like you've got so many different options now. Like you got like you can almost use your like there's just so many options of what you can do because you can sound one way, the monitors could sound completely different. So if it's going through a desk, you could have other processing going on so that out the speakers it sounds another way. You could have it, you know what I mean? You've got so many options for live venues now. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, the thing funny story from a couple of weeks ago, I helped John Brown to film something that's coming for the Guitar Summit, which is coming very soon. I think it's next week, the Guitar Summit. And I helped him film a video about capturing impulse responses. You know, who's going to help with impulse responses? Hello. And we got all the details right, and we used a real VHT 100-watt amp, real screaming thing, and a driftwood amp as well through a Mesa cab, and we got it all. And in the room, we were going deaf with this amp. But then John is generally anti-impulse response, anti-digital. He's like, it doesn't sound the same. And so I showed him the right methods. And then once we loaded it up and compared it with using the Boss, we still used the Valve amp, but we used the Boss Waza tube expander, which is like their load box thing, and loaded up the impulse response that we had made in that session. And he almost couldn't tell them apart. And so afterwards, he sat there like head in hands, like my life is a lie. You know, like, yeah. The cake is a lie.
Cab emulation of the late 90s is what is just stuck in our heads. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's clouded by that. It's like, oh yeah, impulse responses. It's just cab emulation. That's just that button, and it sounds crap. And oh, you might put a model an amp, but I mean model a cab, but it's not the same.
No.
And you then that sort of the psychoacoustic element then comes in as well to a degree, where you think it sounds crap because you want
told
like,
yourself that. Yeah. It's funny that like early just cabinet emulation in things like the pods was terrible, but impulse responses existed at the time, but nobody knew what they were doing. And it's funny, things like that come on leaps and bounds as over time we all realized what we were doing wrong as we refined the process. I mean, everyone goes, oh, these old vintage amps sound great. It's like, no, this 1 or 2 or 3 vintage amps that you pull out sound great, but all the rest of the vintage amps nobody talks about because they were terrible. Because nobody knew what they were doing. And it just so happens that those 2 or 3 out of all of it actually did sound good. And we learned that and we copied them and refined it. And a lot of that
mistakes and things, weren't they?
Absolutely.
And you'd say that a load of stuff with like limiters and things over the years where actually the distortion and actually the lack of quality of what they were trying to achieve has ended up making a nice sound.
Yeah.
And that's why now people like it because they associate it with this. It's like we've done this before. It's like 24 frames a second being filmic. It doesn't actually look better. We've just seen so many films at 24 frames a second that our eyes think that that's what a film should look like. A whole generation of people coming up now that won't be able to see films in the way that me and you see films.
Yeah.
They've only seen 25, 30 or 50 or 100. And to them, older films will look crap. Just like when we black and white films as kids and they didn't look as good. It's amazing to think that like 24 FPS is going to like be a thing that fades out. And Poonin says digital isn't as bad as people think. I don't think it's that. I think it's that it's evolved, and music more than anywhere, like in the 90s, like the digital revolution in pop music and stuff. Like it's had its ups and downs, hasn't it? And I think you're right. We're finally now at an age where we understand digital rather than just realizing it's a thing.
Yeah. But then, you'll always get you people who have their heads in the sand and just shout to the sky saying, this is better because it is. And it's always two things. It's either buyer's remorse because you spent all the money on it and you want that to be good, or it's nostalgia, or a combination of the two.
And you'll have the opposite as well, of people thinking that it's great. Like, just like the people, I remember thinking the cab emulation button on my Boss ME35 or 33 or whatever it was awesome because it was a button that did a thing, because it made a different sound, and it said camabulation. I was like, this is great. And then after I had it for a few weeks, I was like, that button is awful. It does nothing like to add to the sound. Actually, this whole pedal's awful. What can I do with it? I can make taproot sounds. That's about it.
Oh God, yeah. I remember those. But yeah, again, Poo Ninja with the good point. The audiophiles used impulse responses back in the day to compare accuracy of loudspeakers. So the closer the impulse response was to perfect, the better the speaker was. And we've gone the other way, and we've gone, actually, let's use that to measure the non-perfectness and then actually use that. And if you think about that as a concept, that's horrible. It's like, these speakers are horrible. Let's make the horribleness apply to our sound. If you think about that without the last 50 years of rock and roll, what sort of sane human would do that? It's like sticking a microphone in the washing machine to get a lo-fi sound. You know, it's like, it's insane. But what if 50 years ago Jimi Hendrix had done that? Now there would be like custom boutique purple handmade washing machines with, you know, special washing machine Jimi Hendrix branded microphones. And that sounds absolutely insane. It sounds bananas, but that's only because historically that didn't happen.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, nostalgia is a very powerful drug. But
yeah,
anyway,
definitely.
Yes.
And there's causes as well. I mean, it's about understanding the situation that you're in. Like, there's never going to be a thing that is right for all situations and all genres, but you can be recording a guitar. And it's about that thing that we've spoken about quite a few times, that when we started the studio, I said to you, is like, how can we get to 95% good? And you can do that in a lot of different ways, and whatever works for you. And then after that, you can do that for maybe a few £100, a few grand, and you can probably get. And then after that, the price exponentially goes like that to get to the sort of the top level. And I think it's that curve that's maybe dwindling a little bit now due to what's happening with digital, so that you can get closer to that 100%. There's an argument you're not ever going to get to 100% without the real vintage analog gear. Arguably, I say people will argue the way.
Yeah.
But if you can get 9%, and it's stuff that you can physically get hold of, because you can't get hold of those desks because there's only like 5 of them in the world, and also it will cost you 10 million quid to have that set up, or you can do it for 5 to 10 grand.
Yeah,
that 1%, you can probably make up that 1% by being a better guitarist at that point.
Yeah, it's such a small thing, and like some of the best guitarists in the world will just use whatever's to hand, and it sounds like them.
Exactly, and that's the thing.
Yeah, it's like there are all sorts of apocryphal tales from Eddie Van Halen and Ted Nugent and Steve Vai and Joe Satriani, where they all play each other's amps and setups, and it never sounds like that artist. It always sounds like them. Because it's about you. It's not really about the stuff. But yeah, there is a certain something to be said for the experience of a proper valve amp. But then, I don't know, the experience is probably, again, steeps in some form of nostalgia. Only this week, I've got a Fender Twin in the studio, and I put a pair of Celestion creamback speakers in it, and I plugged a Strat into that. And with the volume on 2 or 3, it was so clean. I smacked a chord and it made me jump. It was so clean and so punchy. It pushed me backwards. And yeah, a digital modeling amp will do that, but you have to set the power amp to the right volume to give you the headroom. You have to turn down your preset. You have to do so many steps to make sure nothing can go wrong. Whereas with the valve amp, you plug in and you turn up the volume. And that visceral experience is a different thing, but that's not the valves being good. That's the immediacy of the experience. And it's such a difficult thing to do. I don't know. But yeah, let's move on, because from Boss we go to Boss. Boss Europe teases a new Wazacraft pedal. Apparently like nothing we've ever created before. So I don't know what that really means. But it's got a very metallic kind of finish, which to a lot of Boss fans suggests that this may be a fuzz. And the old Boss FZ2 Hyper Fuzz has a lot of very positive, in the community, it's held in high regard. And I've heard one a few times, and a Boss FZ2 actually does sound really good. But you can't find them. They stopped making them. And I don't know how exactly they're going to remake them. But if they do, I could kind of see myself getting one. I'm generally not a fuzz person. But there's something about the Boss Fuzz that just immediately evokes something like, Blue Album Weezer. That kind of thick, chewy, drung, but not metal. That kind of warm, woolly blanket of guitar. That's just got a thing that amps on their own don't do, because fuzz is very different to an amp circuit. But generally speaking, fuzzes don't kind of do it for me, but I've worked with guitarists for whom it does. And yeah, the Waza pedals have almost always elevated a pedal to have new functionality, new stuff. Like the Dimension C was a copy of the old one, but now it was in stereo and had a switch to sound like the rack unit they did. The Metal Zone has a switch to make it sound good, which, that was a tall order. But yeah, very interested. It just says stay tuned on the Instagram pedal. It doesn't Instagram post. It doesn't say any more than that. But yeah, some people complain that Wazacraft pedals are like, oh, it's just cashing in on something. But it's like, these are all handmade in Japan, and I don't think the normal Boss range is now. And they're made with like super premium components, and they tweak stuff. And yeah,
cool.
They're not limited edition either, which is important to me, because there's been a lot of uproar recently about limited edition equipment and scalpers and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh god, I was looking at eBay today, and like the amount of people selling PlayStation 5s, and all they have is the Amazon or the Smiths or the game receipt. They're literally just taking screenshots of the fact that it says that it will be delivered tomorrow, and they're selling it. It's like, God's sake, and they're selling them for like 800-900 quid. It's like, and there's literally thousands of them in the UK. Like, if you want a PlayStation 5, like you can get one, but you're buying it from someone who hasn't had it delivered yet. Just some people.
Yeah,
fair
some
enough.
horrible people out there.
I mean, it's a way to make a quick buck in a year that's been difficult. I get it, but
yeah. Thing that amused me this week, that there wasn't a specific news article on, is that there was a pedal that we did talk about, I think, last week, from Zvex and Chase Bliss, that was a limited edition pedal. So that sold out instantly, and people were trying to scalp it. I think it was $400 was the original price. People were trying to scalp it for $900. And then the guy from Chase Bliss immediately came out with a statement saying, yeah, scalpers are horrible. By the way, we're not going to do this as a limited edition anymore. We're going to start a new run next month. Mic drop. So you see, so you see all the scalping prices have suddenly got like 40% off and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, because you can't sell them because people are just going to buy a new one.
Yeah, because now it's just a matter of, would you like it now rather than in a few days?
Yeah. Wait a few weeks, we'll get you one. Yeah. Womp, womp, womp. I wonder if that was done as a purposeful move. Certainly conjecture on my part, but I wonder if they said, hey, guess what? Let's do a limited edition, and then just not. I think that's what loads of companies should do now. That is a really good way to stop scalpers, is make a culture where you do a limited edition run, and then 2 days after the run's over go, oh, by the way, yeah, now we're making more for the same price.
Yeah, you got to be careful though, because there's some people that will buy it because it's limited edition because they want a limited edition. So then, arguably, you're devaluing the item for those people as well, though.
Yeah, well, eventually people catch on. Yeah, but eventually that means that scalpers will just stop trying. It's a fine balance, but I don't know. And then, but as much as there is the thing about scalping with PS5s, that's only because of current production demand. I'm already seeing posts on Facebook from like, oh well, the kids aren't gonna get to play on it at Christmas. Like, well, the kids can have a bit of flipping patience then, can't they? The kids have probably got a PS4 Pro and an Xbox One, and they can wait a couple of months because, oh, by the way, there aren't any games out for it yet anyway. So
I know. I was thinking. I was like, last night, I obviously realized what the date was, and I was like, oh, should I try and queue up tomorrow? Because I sold my car, put some money aside for getting a PlayStation 5, and I was like, why though? Like, Cyberpunk's coming out in December, so if I get it by then great. But that's not really optimized for PS5 yet anyway. So it'll play pretty much the same on my PS4 as it does on a PS5, maybe a little bit better. And you say, other than if I wanted to buy Demon Souls, which I don't think my brain can cope with at the moment. I'm trying to get through Sekiro at the moment, which is the same thing. So I just don't see the point myself. It's amazing that they're flying off the shelves as fast as they are, given that
there's no games.
Reason to buy one.
That's it. I mean, right now you can play your older games a little bit smoother, a little faster frame rate, but honestly, if you're a console peasant, you probably never noticed the frame rate to begin with.
Yeah.
Not that I'm exactly PC Master Race here with my 1060 laptop edition, but it doesn't matter as much as the 1% make it look like it matters.
What?
The whole frame rate and smoothness thing.
Oh, I can't stand playing games less than 120 FPS.
Yeah, but it depends what games you play in. If you're playing like esports stuff like Dota, then of course. But you are the 1% who's tuned in enough to care and notice.
Yeah, I mean, so the new Destiny DLC, not DLC, like new version came out where they've scrapped pretty much the entire game, which I think I won't get into, but it's annoyed the hell out of me. Rather than bringing out Destiny 3, they've just got rid of the entire game and made a new DLC. So you can't play all the old content that you originally bought now.
Yay!
Terrible. I think. Anyway, it's free on Game Pass. So screw it. I'm not going to give them any money. I'm just going to play it on Xbox now. And that was horrible for me. I've been used to playing at that, and that's not obviously. I'm not playing at esports level. It's just casual single player. But you can tell the difference. But I mean, you're probably right. Like after an hour or so, you kind of forget. Like, so
it really does depend what kind of game you play in, whether you're doing it competitively, all that kind of stuff. Which again, most people aren't. I mean,
anyway. Evans, no, we're not gaming. No, I'm just talking about. I bring up Destiny because music in Destiny is some of the best music in a video game. There you go. Just a truth fact.
It definitely has music. No,
that's very good music. Very
good. Gibson, everybody's favorite guitar maker, play authentic. There were 13 Adam Jones Les Paul customs from the custom shop went missing in shipping. Basically, they were stolen. The whole pallet was just lifted. Gibson have pledged to remake those 13 guitars, and so to go to the people who have paid for them. Sorry, say again. You dropped out.
Are they suing the guys that made the roads or was driving the truck? Or they've got to be suing someone for it, right? Gibson.
Yeah, well, they would. I'm sure if they find them, they will.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, stuff disappears in transit far too often. I had a 4x10 bass cabinet, and they're not small, disappeared in shipping one time, and it took a month of me being insistent with the delivery company to find it in a corner somewhere. But yeah, these were $10,000 each, but I'm guessing Gibson had insurance on them because they're just these guitars, they've made them and they are being sent to the people who actually paid for them in the first place, which is great. Apparently, when they remake them, they're putting some sort of symbol on them next to the serial number that only Gibson currently knows, which marks out the fact that these are the remade ones. So if ever one comes up for sale and it doesn't have that logo on, it'll be instantly flagged as one of the stolen ones.
Oh, okay.
Which means, apparently Gibson are crawling all the classifieds and Facebook, all basically looking everywhere for one of these guitars to turn up to get a lead on it. Which it may well do at some point. It might be a couple of years, it might be a few years, it might be next week, who knows. A similar story happened to one of my favourite bass players, a guy called Brian Bella, had some of his equipment stolen on tour a couple of years back. And, it wasn't on tour, he just finished a tour. He had a storage unit in a secure compound and somehow someone had broken in and nicked his stuff. And it turned up in some sort of like crack dealer's house a couple of years later. So it turns out that it was found something like 500 yards from the storage facility. Yeah. So Adam Jones does indeed look like a wizard now, as Evan says. No, he's
definitely a wizard.
Yeah, with his giant Gibson staff and everything. You shall not play in for fortune. But I mean, he is a wizard. He's like a 3D FX guy. Did you know he worked on Terminator 2?
Did not.
Yeah, Adam Jones, he was a Hollywood special effects guy before Tool went full time. He's worked on some big stuff, which is why all the Tool videos are really weird, because he, being that caliber of 3D animation effects guy, did them all himself. I think that's pretty cool. So, use the skills you've got. So, someone in chat earlier said something about the new Mesa Boogie Rectifier Badlander. So, this is the Badlander, and I've heard Ola Englund's demo of this, and it sounds absolutely amazing. The dual rectifier, known for the king of chug, 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 chug new metal. This one, they've completely redesigned it from the ground up. And it's got EL34s, which is the different type of valve than rectifiers usually come with. And it's got 2 channels, but with a switch that is clean, crunch, which is just metal, and crush, which is, oh my god, metal. And it doesn't sound flubby and blah, blah, blah as much as the old rectifiers do, which I should know. I've got one between my legs right now. I've got my Road King down below the desk. But they've kind of refined it. It's newer. It's angrier. Notice it's not called a dual rectifier. They've taken the actual valve rectifiers out. I think they realized nobody uses them. So they've taken that whole part of the circuitry out. And, Evan says, so it's a stiletto. No. I've played a stiletto. A stiletto is very sharp and very angry. This still sounds like a rectifier. If you haven't heard it, check out Ola Englund's demo. Usually Ola Englund plays all these heavy amps and they all sound the same. They all just sound like ching, 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 ching. But even Ola was getting carried away and spent several minutes just playing through this thing. And you could see the grin on his face, which says a lot. For someone whose job it is to every day just play the next metal amp and go, here's the next metal amp. Does it chug, 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 chug? When he's grinning ear to ear, you know it's got something going about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And they're making a rack mount version, which is cool for people who tour. And they're making a combo. God only knows why you'd want a combo version of this. But it's got their Cab Clone IR inbuilt, which is the new Cab Clone, which is actually a 2 Notes product. But it doesn't let you have the actual 2 Notes cabinets in it, only lets you have impulse responses. Apparently that was Mesa's request. Don't know why, strange, but there you go. But that means you can actually run these things without, there's Ola's video right there on this page. And yeah, it's you can. There's a 100-watt version that's got a switch that does 50 watts or 20 watts, so you can run it chug without killing everybody. And also, it's just, yeah, really impressive. Not cheap. It says the price is to be confirmed, but the prices are confirmed now. I think the head was something like £2,500, which is a lot. But it is handmade in California, and up until recently, when Mesa got rid of all their distributors and just started going direct, a similar amp would have cost you £3,500. So by cutting out the middleman, they've cut out a big chunk, and it's become almost affordable. Still expensive, but yeah. Where the old rectifiers used to have a bold and spongy switch on the back, this has got bold and variac on the front, so you can reduce the voltage to everything, so you get more of a chewy kind of sound. And yeah, if you've not heard them, go and check Ola England's video, because it really does sound like my kind of amp. It's got guts, and it's a little bit forgiving as well. It just sings, which is good for me because I'm not the best player in the world. So yeah, I do kind of want one. Highly doubtful that Mesa would send me one, but if anyone knows someone at Mesa, give them a nudge. And last but not least, go on.
I said I do not.
No. It's time for Behringer Corner. So, Behringer, the Behringer Mono Poly is about to ship for $700. Or $699, in fact. Don't forget that dollar off. And Behringer has attached a ticket price of, $699, which the original, is it a Korg Monopoly? Or was it a Moog Monopoly? I can't remember. I think it was Korg. Korg, yeah, the Korg Monopoly. I just had a brain fart then. Would have cost you significantly more than $700 at the time. Because they just made the RP 2600, and of course this is one of the very early polyphonic synths, because the way that a synth worked back in the day is it had a generator in to make the sound, and you hit the keyboard to define the voltage, all that kind of thing. Trying to get a synthesizer to do more than one note at once was very, very difficult. And so they found a way around it, and the way that they found around it cost a lot of money. And yeah, now it doesn't. So yeah, it's not the same as the Mini Moog, although now you can get the Poly D. Yeah, so this has got it can do 4 keys at once. It can do mono and unison modes as well, so you can have all 4 of those voices running at on the same key to make it a big kind of note. And yeah, I kind of want one. I don't $699 want one, but I kind of want one. So that is Behringer Corner.
Do you feel like every synth ever, and sometimes I do feel that it's interesting in that I feel like I've heard you say everything you just said this week. I feel like I've heard you say about one of the other synths that they brought out probably about 9 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like it's semi-repetitive in it's another kind of vintage synth that can do this that synths couldn't do, and it's been remade. And
it's a fair point.
Really interesting in the remakes how much of a difference there really is. Like, I think it'd be really interesting that actually now all of these ones that they bring out are just pretty much sound the same. Like, now that they've been rebuilt. And they just literally put new badges on and new buttons.
That's a very good point. Maybe I should try and get hold of a couple for a comparison.
But yeah, I think the entire set is what we need.
Yeah. Just hello, Music Tribe.
Yeah.
I have their address. I should send them a letter. Yeah,
alongside it, we just need to download every copy of the podcast, find a AI tool that will search for the word Behringer in all the podcasts, so we can clip every time we've mentioned Behringer over the past 2 years, and then say, we would like a copy of every one of these, please, that we've featured, so that we can review them all back to back. I'm sure they'll say yes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how different they sound. Yes. So back to full camera. Question in chat. I want input on this one. I want a 5150 into a Mesa cab or an Engel Fireball into a Mesa cab. They're very, very, very different sounds. The 5150 is much more chewy, has so many gain stages that it's very smooth under the fingers. An Engel Fireball will rip your head off and be far more bright and angry and immediate. It depends what you need, but they're very, very, very different amps. The cab is the cab. I mean, the cabs can be massively swapped out. I do that a lot. But yeah, in terms of a head, it's like comparing a drag racer with a touring car. They can both go very, very fast, but in very different ways. It all depends what you do with it as well. You can actually dial them in so they both just sound like chung 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 chung. It's when you get down into the details. Yes. Anywho, yeah, next week's going to be interesting because next week, let me look at the exact date of next week. Next week's podcast is going to be on Thanksgiving.
Oh.
And you know what the day is after Thanksgiving?
Black Friday.
Yes, there we go. So what I'm going to do at some point over the next week is I'm going to compile a list of all the best deals I can find, including obviously our own affiliate ones, but also ones that I don't have affiliate links for companies that I know and like and use their stuff, try and get you all of their huge deals. So we're going to do like a Black Friday special podcast. We are going to talk about the news briefly, I think, at the start, but then it's going to be like deals, 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 get some deals, got your deals. And I'm going to be checking in with the companies that we do know to see if there's any Black Friday deals that are going to be coming out that, you know, we're not yet aware of. Because if there is, I'll do a special video on that Friday. But it seems like a lot of companies, especially with the whole lockdown and global situation, are taking a slightly more relaxed approach this year and have already started a lot of their Black Friday sales.
Mm-hmm.
Or like they're calling it Black November or just sale.
Yeah. But also, I feel like the sales are also not as good as a result.
I mean, maybe, especially on the software side, it doesn't seem to be any worse. Like the Arturia V collection, I looked, and that's the same price as it was last year. The V collection's usually €500, and that's now $250. Was a good example, so I would highly recommend that. We put out a video with the Arturia V collection, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday, and that's some really good sounding stuff, and I haven't even begun to dive into what that package can do, because my word, it can do so much. Oh yes.
Yeah, I was looking on Scan's Black Friday offers. I was £5 off a 2 terabyte hard drive.
Yeah, well, stuff like that, you're never going to get huge discounts on stuff that's already close to margin, especially hardware. But yes. But yeah, software, there's massive scope for discounts. Included in software is courses, like Marty says. Try the Super Atom Bundle for $137. The Super Atom Bundle, yes. Our latest courses on understanding the fundamentals of EQ and compression, delay and reverb are on a sale with the Ultimate Reaper Guide. If you buy them together, it's $137 all in for all of it, which is the cheaps. Considering that I think the Reaper course on its own is supposed to be $150. So yeah, bundling them all in for less. Good.
That is pretty good, not gonna lie.
The AAAA is coming to rescue our car and also asks, is the Marshall Origin series a good tube amplifier? They are better than people give them credit for, but they work very differently to a lot of classic Marshalls because they have apparently some different controls on the front that you just have to get to grips with. one of my friends, Joe from Zilla, has one, and he highly recommends it. But he says that a lot of people don't get it because it takes time to get something from. But it's a very vintage sounding amp. If you want something for hard rock and metal, you're either going to have to boost it pretty hard or look for something else. But if you want that classic rock, AC/DC and slightly hotter kind of sound, Marshall Origin's apparently pretty good for that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, if you're not quite getting the sound you want, have a little patience and play with those knobs that are not just bass, middle, and treble. There's something like, I don't know, body and grit or something like that. I can't quite remember, but yeah, that. Yeah, Joe in chat says that he bought our bundle and he seems to be getting on very well with it. I've been tracking his progress in our Discord. Our Discord just had an email off Neural DSP saying 50% off all Neural DSP plugins. How about that for timing? Yes. So yes, next week, if you haven't already spent all your money by the time that Thanksgiving comes around, then we will bring you all the best and latest deals, including ones from us. I know that Two Notes are doing something for their Black Friday sale. I don't know if it's already there. There's a classic cabs thing, which we have a few cabinets in. But yeah, so they've not, I don't think they've released their Black Friday things yet, but they will be doing very soon. Yes. Apparently Major Prometheus says that Produce Like a Pro have a remix contest going on right now. So that could be fun. I wonder if there's going to be any Black Friday sales on strings, because I need lots and lots and lots of bass strings, because I'm going to be tracking a lot. As I found yesterday, the bottom B string on my metal bass sound goes dead within a single day. So, yes. I'm going to go with the Pro Strat there and order a load of just single B strings. Also a load of the packs of the other strings, but if it goes dead like 3 times faster than the other strings, don't change a whole set. Just buy the single and swap out the single. Yeah. Evans bought 3 pedals since the last time he said no more pedals. Yes, that sounds awfully familiar. I've been getting hold of a couple new pedals recently, partly because I've been building new little tiny bass pedal board. If anyone didn't see the come on, how do I do this now? NDI source. There we go. If anyone didn't see the bass video that I did yesterday, let's just see if this pops up. There we go. That's the wrong way round. This is a camera. There we go. So this is my phone camera. You can see my desk covered in pics. But yeah, I've got the TC Hypergravity going into a DI box, so we get a nice clean sound. That goes to the Two Notes La Bass, which is in parallel mode, which then also separately goes to the Boss Metal Zone, because everybody's got to have a metal zone. And that's going into that Orchid Electronics DI box there. So I get that as just a buzzy, fuzzy sound that blends in nicely with the others and actually sounds absolutely brutal. Metal Zone on its own sounds awful, but it's all about a blend. So yeah. I think that's a fairly comprehensive podcast there. So I think it's time to say adieu. And I will go and do more stuff. What?
Until Black Friday.
Until Black Friday. And Thanksgiving, when we will see you on International Turkey Day. See you all later, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everyone. That might be the end of the video, but if you fancy carrying on this conversation, we have a Discord server. Link is in the description. We're also on Patreon, which is something you can really help us with. We also are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Hot Pole Studios. See you there.